Hi there. I put a photo up on socials a while ago, and some of you asked how I did it, so today I'm going to do a quick Photoshop demonstration to show how it was done. What it was a couple of daffodils which I focus stacked and then put a couple of layers on top of that to give the effect of peeling a black and white layer off to reveal colour behind. It's quite a simple technique, it's not going to take very long, but this is how you do it. The first stage of the process is to create a focus stack of these 6 images of the daffodils that are all taken at slightly different focus points. You can see this is the top layer, the end of the trumpets are sharp, the vase itself is very unsharp. If we look at the furthest in layer, then the vase is nice and sharp, but the trumpets are unsharp. So if we stack them together, do a focus stack. I've already done a video on that, so do look at it, but we'll still run through it here in any case. Start with File, we go down to Scripts, we go down to Load Files into Stack. Now you don't need to have the files open, you then browse, you find them on the file and you click on them all, but if you've got them all open, you just click on Add Open Files, they automatically come into this dialog box. You tick Attempt to automatically align source images, click on OK, and it will load them one on top of the other onto a separate document, which is currently called Untitled 1, and then align them so they become one on top of the other. You'll notice they're slightly resized if we turn them all off, except it's going to be the top one, isn't it? There, you can see that's been resized and there's an element of transparency around it. If we click on the top one, go down to the bottom of the stack, hold the Shift key down and click on that, you'll see all 5 layers are now selected. Go up to Edit, drop down to, we've already done the auto align layers, so we drop down to auto blend layers. We're going to stack images with seamless tones and colours, and let's content aware fill transparent areas. It does a pretty good job with that nowadays. That's now blending them together. And there we have it. You'll see the vase is now sharp, the daffodils are now sharp. Overall it looks a little bit darker than I wanted it, so I'm going to select the top layer, which is an already merged layer. Let's flatten them first. I have written a shortcut key to flatten because Photoshop ironically doesn't have a shortcut key for flattening images. On my machines it's just Control and F2 and that flattens it. You can just click on there and there's an option there to flatten image. Actually, let's select the background first. If I take the quick selection tool and we just go round there, across the top, across there, down there and release. You may also have to just take away that petal. We now have the lighter tones in that photo selected, the background effectively. I'm going to put a levels layer on there and just lighten that up a bit, particularly the highlights on it. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll put another levels on it and just lighten the mid-tones a fraction. I just want to bring those daffodils up just that wee bit, and I think that's quite pleasant. Flatten it again and crop, I think, because there's a bit of a mess going on at the top. We'll take that down there. Let's just straighten it up a bit. It's wonderful, isn't it? Even on a tripod you end up with crooked photos. And the final stage is just to tidy it up a bit, because I think I was photographing motocross the day before I did this and there's dirt all over my sensor. It has subsequently been cleaned. Probably should have reshot it. Not too bad, and there we have it, a nice tidy photo ready for the next stage. Stage 2 of the process is to duplicate this layer and try and create that fold over effect. When we create the fold over effect, if we've got the fold over bit white and the background white, it makes selections particularly difficult. So a simple way around this is to put a border on it. Just a little border, edit, stroke, I can't find it, there it is, black. We'll have a 25 pixel border, because this is quite a big photograph, on the inside of the selected line. If you do it on the outside of the selected line, you won't get anything, of course. If we deselect, you'll see now that if I zoom in, you've got a nice thick border on the outside of that. So the next thing to do is duplicate the background layer. Command on a Mac, Control J will duplicate your background layer without having to go up to menus. It's such a time saver. So we've now got this first layer, layer 1, that we're going to use for the fold over. If we take edit and transform and warp, we can grab hold of that, we can pull that down to here somewhere, maybe about there. To avoid this being too thin, I like to pull that down to somewhere like that, that down to somewhere like that. So we've got a bit of the yellow showing there as well. We could even tweak that in there to make the curve a little less extreme. And just hit enter and you've got that straight off. You will notice that even there, that's got a bit too thin, which is a shame, but I didn't want to make it any thicker. Duplicate this layer again, Control J again, so we've got 2 copies. This is going to be the black and white layer in the foreground, so we'll go back to that layer, we'll add a black and white layer there, and you'll see that's gone black and white. But so is that on the bottom layer, of course. It's passed through the transparent area there and affected that bottom layer. So what we do is we link that layer to that layer just by using this little logo here, which links it to the layer immediately below. If I click on that, you'll see it now only affects the folded over bit. Let's go up to layer 1 copy, this one here, and we'll turn all the other layers off. So we've just got this. I now want to select this folded over bit. I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool, because the quick selection tool sometimes is a little too harsh for this. Click on there and I've got all the white there, all the white there. I don't think it's gone into the black at all. No, it hasn't. And it hasn't quite selected, obviously hasn't selected that piece. If we make sure contiguous is ticked, if we put the tolerance up a bit more and we click on there, and that's now all selected. Make sure I've got the correct active layer. Terribly easy to get that bit wrong. We're going to add a layer mask to this layer, which will blank out everything apart from the selected area. So if we just go down to the layer mask there, click on that, you'll see we get a layer mask that only includes the bit we want to turn into a negative. If I do Control I or Command I on a Mac, we invert the colours, select the active layer and not the layer mask, and we've got that straight off. If we now simply turn on all the other layers, we have almost the end result. I would just like to see this dark tone here just that little bit blacker, so on top of that layer I will stick another layer mask and link it to the layer and just pull the dark tones in at the bottom, and there we have it. Job done. Peeling back the black and white image to show a negative and reveal the positive image of the daffodil. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it a bit of fun. Try it on different images. It'd be great to see your results. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've found it interesting and I will see you all again very soon.